Hello everybody. So today I thought I would read an original story that I wrote a while ago. Bless me. And yeah, here we go. Hope it relaxes you. It's called A Prayer Like Rain. A prayer like rain. The sun hovered in the sky, big, blinding, and unforgiving. Underneath that sun was the endless stretch of desert sand and rock. It is here that the cacti resided. They lived together, keeping each other company, talking about the latest desert gossip. "We are family," they would say to one another. "We belong and we are content." I'm so freaking itchy, oh my god. This was true. They were all content. All except for one. Looking from a distance stood a cactus all by himself. He watched as they laughed with one another. He watched as they cried, comforted, and celebrated amongst themselves. He wanted so badly to be closer to them. "Your arm is quite crooked," they would say. "You are oddly shaped, and it is very upsetting. You are close enough, so there is no need to come any closer, no?" "Of course, I apologize," the lonely cactus would say. The other cacti refused to grow closer towards him, and he didn't dare spread his roots any closer to theirs, so he lived at a distance, blaming his crooked arm and odd shape for his isolation. However, as time passed, he grew fond of his solitary fate in life. "I have no worries but my own. I have no need to quarrel with others over disagreements, for I am alone. It is not necessary to concern myself with comforting others. I only need to comfort myself. And when I am bored, I can simply watch my neighbors. They are, after all, very fun to watch." And so, he lived his solitary life, just close enough to his cactus neighbors to avoid being completely and utterly alone. But, as time went on, the sun began to grow hotter and hotter. The occasional nights of rainfall had come to a complete stop, leaving the cacti thirsty and dry. For many nights, the cactus could hear the others desperately praying for rain. However, the sun was cruel, and the cacti began to shrivel. Their prayers made no difference. Those long, thirsty nights that were once filled with prayer were now heavy with mourning and despair. The lone cactus shuddered at the sound of their crying. He thought to himself, "I am lucky. I have no need to mourn. I have no one to lose. I just pray that the rain comes soon. I do not want to be completely and utterly alone." But the hot, blistering days grew longer, and the dry, freezing nights became lonelier, all while the cacti continued to shrivel and fall. Finally, on a deathly silent morning, just as the sun began to peek over the sandy horizon, the cactus looked around, only to realize he was all alone. The usual chatter from the other cacti had been growing quieter over time, and now the only sounds to fill the emptiness of the desert was the cold morning wind. He was truly alone now, completely and utterly. As he stared on with terrified realization, he heard the sound of shifting sand from behind. He quickly turned around and was met by two beady eyes. "Good morning, cactus," said the snake, carelessly sliding from side to side in the sand. "Good morning," he replied. "Are you all alone?" inquired the snake. "I am." "Why?" The cactus looked back at where his neighbors had once lived. "The sun took them away from me," he said. "That is quite unfortunate," remarked the snake as she slowly came to a stop. "Do you like being alone?" "I do, but now I am completely and utterly alone." "Don't worry," she said. "I will be your new neighbor." With that, She swiftly disappeared into the rocks that rested not too far from him. That night, as the moon made its way into the starry night sky, the lonely cactus made a promise to himself. I have been alone for all my life. I do not need others to survive. I have proven that I am truly independent. So, I will pray for rain in the hopes to continue living, for I know that if I were to live, I could do so all on my own. Besides, I do not like this feeling of thirst. It bothers me. He began to pray for rain. The next morning, he awoke to the sound of rustling sand and frightened squealing. Petrified, he glanced about to locate where exactly this horrible sound was coming from. Just a short distance from the snake's rocky home lay a terrified furry creature, tangled inside the snake's ropey embrace. A few moments passed in silence. Finally, the snake glided towards the observant cactus, a lump now protruding from her belly. "Do you think ill of me?" she asked in a light, humorous voice. "No," he answered. "Good. I will not starve myself for your approval anyway." Now directly in front of the cactus, she began to turn in circles, packing her body into a tight coil, her head resting at the top. "Tell me, my lonely cactus, why are you shaped so oddly? Why is your arm so ugly?" The snake's unblinking stare proved intimidating to the cactus. He looked away before answering her very intrusive question. "This is how I grew." "Is that why you were so far away from your now deceased neighbors? Did they not like your appearance?" "Yes," he answered. "That is rather unfortunate," whispered the snake, slipping her tongue into the hot desert air. "I heard you praying for rain last night. Do you truly think you deserve to be spared from the sun? The others were not spared, and you are by no means superior to them." Surprised by the snake's odd question, the cactus could only stare, speechless. The serpent, now amused by his startled reaction, began to uncoil herself. "I shall visit tomorrow, cactus. You can answer me then." She swirled around, stealthily slipping into her home. The morning turns to day, and the day turns to night, leaving the cactus all alone with his thoughts. He tried to think of how he could answer the snake's question, but to no avail. Later that night, as he looked up at the bright night sky, he searched for any signs of rain clouds. There were none. He began to pray. The next morning, he awoke to the sound of hissing and two inquisitive, shining eyes. "So, my cactus, can you answer me? I am impatient for an answer. Do you truly believe you deserve to be spared from the sun's drying heat?" The cactus looked at the snake, still unable to think of a response. "My answer is that I do not know. For many years I have wanted to belong, but I have never belonged. I have never offered help to others in need, for there was no one around to help. I have not cared for another because there was no one to care for. I have never loved because there was nothing to love. I stand for nothing because I am nothing. I ask myself, why was I not the first to dry out and perish? And I do not know the answer to that. I do not know if I deserve mercy from the sun, but perhaps I deserve to be alone, completely and utterly alone. So I have no answer to your question. I do not know what I deserve." The snake slipped her tongue into the air, her eyes shining with a gleam of thrilled curiosity. "Are you afraid to die?" she asked. The cactus stared at the snake, unable to answer. With eyes still shining, the snake backed away. "I will visit you tomorrow, dear cactus. Have your answer ready by then." She disappeared into the wavy heat of the desert. The day dragged on, leaving the lonely cactus no choice but to pass the time inside his own mind. "Am I afraid to die?" thought the cactus. Is that why I continue to pray for rain? The evening turns to noon, and then to dust. The cactus gazed at the darkening horizon, welcoming the coolness of the night. Where was I? The evening turns to noon and then to dusk. The cactus gazed at the darkening horizon, welcoming the coolness of the night. Suddenly, from the corner of his vision, he saw something floating by from high above. He looked up, and there it was, a thin, wispy cloud, carelessly drifting across the sky. He began to pray. The next morning, he awaited the snake's visit, ready to answer her terrible question. For much of the night, he had pondered at how he would respond. The snake's company was not pleasant, but at least he was not alone. Hours passed, but she did not show. The morning turns to noon, and then to sunset. His anticipation for seeing the snake had turned into somber dejection. She was a rather unpredictable snake, he said to himself. If I were to be unpredictable, said the serpent as she slipped into his view, then how would I catch my prey? Her sleek body was interrupted by a bulge halfway down. Do you have a ready answer, my sad little cactus? Are you afraid to die? I have your answer. Please, then carry on. Entertain me. I am afraid to die, whispered the cactus. I do not know why, but the urge to live runs deep within my being. However, I do not understand my fear of death. Why must I fear death, when my only other option is a life of complete and utter loneliness? I watched as my neighbors suffered, so perhaps I too must share their fate. But am I selfish for my desire to live? I do not know. I am frustrated, scared, and do not know how to feel. I have the urge to cry, but I am far too dry to do so. I have been given life, and I am afraid to lose it. But what is a life that is spent in total isolation? A life spent alone is a life you deserve, my funny little cactus. You are alone because your arm is crooked, you're oddly shaped, and quite frankly, a complete bore. Your thorns are painful, and your presence brings that of a heavy sadness. Your solitude is your own fault, my sad cactus friend. But please, do understand that my words are not to belittle you. I speak to bring you clarity. My words are fact. Tell me, she continued, why do you hold on so dearly to life? You are thirsty and filled with nothing but sadness. Why do you continue to pray for rainfall when you are in so much pain? Her words trailed off as the sound of flapping wings descended from the sky. The snake and the cactus looked up. Two sharp talons dropped from above, crashing down towards the snake. A sharp hiss erupted from the reptile as she jolted towards the safety of her rock home. But the flying creature landed before her, blocking her path, forcing her to whip around and head another direction. As the snake slipped away into the distance, the owl turned to the cactus. Forgive my intrusion. I hope I am not a bother. I have been searching for snakes all day, and finally I have found one. Do take care of yourself, cactus, for you look quite dry. Good news. I hear clouds have been gathering in the sky. Anyhow, take care. I have a snake to catch. With that, the owl continued with his hunt. That night, as the cactus prayed his usual prayer for rain, He tried to forget the snake's cruel words. I have no need to worry of that horrible snake now. The owl chased her away. That night, as the cactus prayed his usual prayer, he tried to forget the snake's cruel words. I have no need to worry of that horrible snake now. The owl chased her away. I do not need her or anyone else. I am perfectly fine all on my own. He then continued to pray. As he prayed, something cold dribbled down on his arm. Odd, thought the cactus. He tried to continue his prayer, but another speck of coldness splashed against his belly, then the top of his head, and then his back. A loud rumble boomed in the sky. The cactus quickly looked up. He was amazed. He had never seen so many clouds before. Not a single star could be seen across the entire sky. As the night went on, each raindrop came quicker than the last, and soon enough, it was pouring. Not once in his entire life had it ever rained so hard. The ever-present silence that surrounded the desert was now drowned out with the heavy blasting of pounding rain and thunder. My prayers, he thought to himself. My prayers have been answered. He drank and drank and drank. And as his dried body soaked in the promise of life, he began to cry. He cried from exhaustion, from relief. He cried from the uncertainty that this would bring him. Was he now destined to live out his days talking to himself? Would he grow to love his loneliness? Or would he begin to hate his own company? However, in the rush of his wild emotions, he decided to stay in the moment and really enjoy the beautiful storm. The night dragged on, and rain did not stop. His body was now full, and he was bursting at the seams, but he could not stop drinking. His arms became heavy with water. His once wrinkled belly was now thick and shiny, yet he did not stop drinking. I will drink for every cactus that lost their life. They will never be given back what was taken from them, so I will drink in their stead. The ones who had shunned him, ridiculed him, belittled him for his appearance, he loved every single one of them, and he promised in that very instant that he would carry that love with him for the rest of his days. The cloudy night sky had just begun to thin with morning light. The rain had calmed, and now only a thin drizzle took its place. As the morning sun climbed over the desert sand, it began to warm the drenched cactus. He looked around, astonished. He was sitting in an ocean of bright, purple desert flowers. They blanketed the sands until the curvature of the horizon sank to the edge of the earth. A familiar voice broke out from behind him. "Good morning!" The sound of fluttering wings and whooshing air drew closer to him. A pair of talons finally landed gently on his arm. "I see you took the advantage of the rainstorm." Still stunned by the endless blanket of flowers, the cactus could only muster a few words for the owl. "It would seem so," he said. "How have you been faring without your snake friend? I do apologize for that rather abrupt disturbance yesterday. When I see a snake, I simply cannot help myself." "It's all right," remarked the cactus. "She was a rather rude snake." "Oh, is that so?" beamed the owl, pleased with the information. "Then there was no reason for guilt." The bird rustled his feathers as he got into a comfortable position. "But are you not lonely? I see that you live on your own." "I am fine on my own, owl. I have known loneliness. I am fine on my own, owl. I have known loneliness. I am fine on my own, owl. I have known loneliness for quite some time. I now accept it." The owl fluttered, baffled by the cactus's response. "But this is very sad, my dear cactus. Do you not long for companionship?" "I am content with my own thoughts," replied the cactus. The bird jumped up from his spot and fluttered to the top of the cactus's head. "Then I will listen to your thoughts." The cactus laughed. but I have no thoughts to share at this time. Then I will wait. The day went on as a cactus and owl talked. The owl spoke of the time he had gotten stuck in a fog so thick he barely made it out alive. The cactus told of the time his neighbors had gotten into an argument over who was the thorniest. They listened to each other, shared stories, exchanged ideas, and for the first time in the cactus's life, he felt connected. Finally, as the night approached, the owl stretched out his wings, saying, "I must go now, friend. Because of the rain, there is much prey that is out and about. I shall return tomorrow." With one flap, he was in the air. As the cactus stared into the bright night, he thought to himself, "Perhaps I will not be alone." He then rested. Dawn slowly lit up the dark sky, awakening the cactus. He spotted a small patch of fuzz resting on his arm. His curiosity piqued. "What is this?" he thought to himself. However, his mind was distracted by the wonderful sound of flapping wings. The owl rested on his arm. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. For many days they talked, growing closer with each other. However, as time went on, the cactus began to notice white fuzz spreading across his body. Finally, one morning, as the light had just begun to light up the field of desert flowers, he found himself completely taken over by mold. Horrified, he thought to himself, "I was selfish. I should have stopped drinking during the rainstorm all those nights ago. I continued to drink even as I became bloated with water. Not only is my arm crooked, not only am I oddly shaped, but now I am covered in mold because of my greed." The cactus did not cry. He could not bring himself to partake in self-pity. He winced as the sound of the owl's wings came from behind. "Good evening, friend." The owl landed on the cactus's arm. "How are you?" "I am fine," whispered the cactus. "You sound unhappy." "I am fine. How are you?" The owl tilted his head, his big eyes observing the cactus. "I am feeling wonderful today. My belly is full, and now I get to talk to you. I have been thinking, Cactus. I do not like to see you all alone. If you would like, I would happily stay by your side. We can keep each other company. I can even chase the vermin away from you. We can live together." "I am very sorry," mumbled the cactus, looking over at the owl. "I am not feeling very well today." "Do you need anything, Cactus? I'm willing to help. If only you were able to get rid of all this mold that has grown on me, to get rid of this ugliness that is attached to me, but you cannot. You cannot do a thing." The owl paused, looking him over. "But Cactus, you are not ugly. Why do you say these things about yourself? My arm is crooked, I'm oddly shaped, and now I am covered in mold. I could not join my neighbors because they did not like my appearance, and the snake that you chased away, she said that I was a bore. She said that I was unpleasant to look at. I do not want to drag you into my ugliness. You do not have to talk to me." The owl stayed silent for quite some time, occasionally shifting into a new position when the old one became uncomfortable. Finally, he spoke. "I would like to talk of the time I nearly got caught by humans. I would like to talk about the wonderful day I have had. I would like you to talk to me in the same manner. I'm very sorry. I cannot allow you to speak to me. I do not deserve your attention. You cannot be my neighbor or my companion. I am sorry, owl." Silence filled the desert for quite some time. At last, the owl spread out his wings and turned to the cactus. "Very well, friend. I will leave you, if that is your wish." He jumped off and began to fly away. "I pray you have good fortune. Stay safe." With that, he was gone. "I am supposed to live on my own now," thought the cactus to himself. "I will not bring others down to my level by association. I am not that cruel." The days went on, the flowers began to die. These flowers were nothing like a cactus. They required much more water. Soon, the desert was bare once again. The days turned to night, the nights turned to weeks, the weeks turned to months. The cactus passed the time with his thoughts, or by counting the thorns on his body. His fear of isolation grew less frightening with each passing day. His mold never disappeared, much to his dismay. He had drunk so much during the rainstorm that it seemed unlikely his mold would ever go away. But this no longer bothered him. Only I have to witness my disfigured, moldy existence. I am content, he would say to himself. In his silence, he watched the world pass by. Now and then his mind would wander to the times he had spent with the owl. These distant memories, however, proved to be painful. He made the effort to keep them out of his head. He was alone, completely and utterly, just as he wanted. One day, just as the sun began to lift into the sky, the odd sound of fluttering wings and whooshing air hovered above his head. Suddenly, something landed on his arm, light and graceful. "Hello," said the owl. Frozen in shock, the cactus could only stare. "Are you happy?" asked the owl, facing him with eyes unwavering. "I am content," answered the cactus. "Are you happy?" asked the owl. "As long as I am content, I shall be fine." The owl tilted his head. "You do not look happy." The cactus looked out at the sea of desert sand. "I have learned to live my life comfortably. I may be alone, but that's okay. There are reasons I am alone, and I accept my lot in life." "What are the reasons for being all alone?" asked the owl. "My arm is crooked," the cactus began, but the owl interrupted. "Your arm is crooked, you're oddly shaped, and you are covered in mold." "Yes," said the cactus sadly. "Your arm is perfect for me to rest on. Your unique shape casts a shadow and cools me down in the desert heat. The mold that covers your body is soft on my talons. You are perfect." "I would like to be by your side. I will stay by your side. I would like to be by your side. I will stay by your side when the sun grows too hot. I will not leave you when the rain turns into a storm. I will stay by your side to remind you that you are perfect. I will remind you that you are my perfect home." "I will remind you that you are my perfect home, and I will protect you from the snakes and the pests. I will chase them away. I will never leave you alone. You will never be rid of me, cactus." The cactus turns to the owl. "Please stay with me." There you go. Hope that was enjoyable. I apologize for the emotional whatever. This was a story that I wrote in my free time a few months ago. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back for more ASMR.